All right. So first, starting off, tell me a little bit about your background and what led you into education and what brought you here to Dallas.
So I was born, raised, and educated in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm the product of two lifelong educators. So, when you talk about education, it's very important to me, and it was always instilled in me the importance of education. So from there, I graduated from high school. I felt super prepared to do anything I wanted to do. I went off to college and actually and majored in business. And I think I always knew that I had a passion for education, but because everyone in my family were educators, I decided I would do something different. After graduating from undergraduate at Morehouse, I started working in corporate America, and I was a part of a management training program. And as a part of that program, we had to do community service, and the community service I did was tutoring in a middle school, and actually had an opportunity to plan a job fair in that middle school. The connection with the children and just the product of seeing them grow and seeing them progress academically was what I decided was the way I wanted to spend my life. So I left my business career and jumped into a teacher certification program and jumped into the classroom and chose to teach. From there, when you speak about impact and you talk about your opportunity to make impact, in the classroom, you have an impact on those students. But I saw leadership as an opportunity to increase my span. And that's why I decided to go the assistant principal and principal route, and truly would probably still be a principal if it were not for people making impact in my life and encouraging me to continue to grow. And from there, I decided to apply for central office positions, and in 2013 had an opportunity to return to Shreveport as the superintendent of schools, and I've spent my last 10 years there. But prior to that, I was in the Dallas area for 14 years.
Okay. So tell me, what stood out to you about Duncanville?
Wow, where do I start with Duncanville? And what I tell people is that I had been in Caddo Parish for 10 years, and if you look at the tenureship of a superintendent, there's generally a 3, maybe 4-year span. So I had already outlived that tenure, and a lot of people were saying, oh, well, you need to look at other places because superintendents just don't stay forever. But I was in a situation where I had an amazing relationship with my board. Our daughter had just finished high school, and we decided, let's just look, and we prayed a lot about that, and I'm a man of great faith, and I was really following God, and he truly led me to Duncanville. But when I tell you that how my work and how the situation I'm in here in Duncanville, the things that I will face and the things that I will address, this whole city of championships mentality and just the reality of that and how I'm prepared to do this, I know that Duncanville was the right place for me, and I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to take those experiences and just to see them every day, how those experiences provide better opportunities for children in Duncanville.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the goals that you have for the district this year?
When you think about Duncanville and what it really means to be a city of champions, the things that come to mind are the state championship track teams and the world records that the track team set. You think about the 2-time state championship football team and the girls basketball state championship. And my goal this year, though, is for whenever people talk about Duncanville, for what we're doing in the classroom to also be an integral part of that conversation. There's so many amazing things that are happening in our classroom today. And I look at my work and my opportunity to work alongside the team to really lift those things up and to really increase academic opportunities for children that sit in our classrooms every day.
Mm-hmm. So how do you go about doing that to bring that reputation on the academic side, and like you said, to increase that achievement with the children?
Right. One thing that I tell people, especially when you look at a school system like Duncanville, and we certainly have quite a few children that will play professional sports, but we often see that commercial around people who play even at the college level. Most of them will go pro in something else. I do believe, and you look at any school system, most people are going to be professionals at something else. I think what I tell people, and I tell teachers all the time, if you want to make sure that everyone in your school system leads as a champion, you have to create that champion environment in the classroom. The one field, the one court that everyone will cross in a school system is a classroom. My goal is to work alongside my team and my teachers, my principals, and everyone on the team, the cafeteria people, everyone, to lead with impact. Our goal is to make that impactful contribution in our classrooms, in our fields, in our everywhere we go on our buses, cafeteria, to be impactful. And when we are all impactful, you're going to provide that better learning opportunity and ultimately see students able to graduate and chase their wildest dreams and then go on and make impacts in whatever field they are pros at.
Now, I want to go into a little bit about school budgets, because naturally in Texas that has been a big topic, a big issue, funding for schools. Where does Duncanville stand, and how does that impact the students and the staff and the teachers?
Right. You know, as a superintendent, I do believe one of my greatest strengths is that balancing act, because there's a balance between fiscally responsible, but also at the same time providing students with the very best experiences that you can. We as a district, like many of our urban community districts, are in a deficit budget. But what that means is that we have this year, we hit our fund balance this year for a pretty nice sum of money, but we have this year to now not look at how do we just cut things, but to look at what is the impact, to look at what are those things that we can cut so that we can live within the dollars that our tax base provides for us to educate children. I'm very big on being fiscally responsible, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we maximize every opportunity for children. So we will go through a process this year of cost containment. We will look at everything, and we'll determine and we'll prioritize things as to what their values are, and the value will be focused on children and what the outcomes are for children. When you align all of your resources, and you may be in a situation where you're giving away some good things, but there has to be a prioritization process so that you make sure the main things remain the main things.
Mm-hmm. Will that process take place as far as looking at, you know, the budget and what can stay, what can't stay? Is that going to happen going into this school year, or is everything pretty much the same for this school year and next year?
We've adopted a budget, and we're so thankful that past administrations have been so fiscally responsible that we do have a fund balance, which is like your savings account, that we could hit for that deficit budget that we have this year. But we can't do that again. So as we go into this year, planning for the following school year, we will need to begin to make some of those very tough cuts in our budget so that we can remain fiscally responsible to our tax base. But again, what I will say, I think the most important part of that conversation is we'll prioritize those things as they affect children as we make those challenging decisions.
Is there anything that Duncanville is doing to kind of find ways to, or other ways to kind of bring money into the school, or, you know, I don't know if there's any programs or initiatives to help raise more funds, anything that you all are exploring? You
know, one thing I'll say is that we do have a wonderful relationship with our philanthropic community, and because of that, we do see our education foundation do things to help our school system. You know, but we're very responsible with our brand. Duncanville's brand is very, very loved. It's marketable, and we make sure that it's used appropriately. And again, you know, there's some opportunities there. But I think that in general, we do rely and we appreciate our taxpayers and our tax base for what they do to provide opportunities for children.
Mm-hmm. And I believe Duncanville, there's 18 schools within the district?
Yeah, 18 schools, but we have 19 principals because we have our early college high school, which is housed within our high school. So that kind of creates a 19 school.
Okay, gotcha. And I know the state mandated that each school has officers in the school. Where does Duncanville currently stand as far as having officers in each school? And how does that impact funding in any way?
Right. So it's very impactful because of the costs associated with that. But what I will tell you is that we are committed to creating the safest environments that we possibly can. Because of that, we work very closely with state agencies to make sure that our work is in compliance. Very fortunate that we do have our own police department, so that does help a lot with us, with the coverage of our schools. And we also have a support system of our campus support monitors that are also on all of our campuses to help ensure that we have safe environments. But again, I tell people all the time, I don't care how wonderful your school is, parents don't send their children to places that they don't feel to be safe. And if we're going to be the very best we can be, we must create a safe environment for children.
Yeah, and I saw too that there's the clear backpack policy.
Yes, we are a clear backpack district, and again, research shows that, you know, nothing is foolproof, but we want to make sure we take every effort we can to ensure safety. And again, making sure that our students are prepared and that they know to be aware of their surroundings, as well as our teachers as well.
And I forgot to ask too, are you able to tell me what that budget deficit is, and then also the impact of,
Yeah,
well,
I didn't
how
on
much?
purpose, but I can't.
Okay.
No, I can't. I don't know the impact of the security part. Connie, do you have anything to add to that? Do you know? And I'll answer it. Okay, so
Okay.
what I will tell, when we speak to our deficit budget, again, we did adopt a pretty hefty deficit budget of $18 million, and that's on a $150 million budget. So that's a very significant deficit. But again, we are so committed, and the team is so committed to doing those things that are necessary so that we do create a fiscal responsible situation for our community. And again, I do want to thank past administrations again for being so responsible, because we do have a fund balance, which is our savings account, so that we could utilize those dollars at a time such as this.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how it's been for you, because new to Duncanville as the superintendent, just getting around and getting to know the students and the residents that live here. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing.
So what's been interesting about this is that when we moved from Atlanta in 1998, we moved to Mansfield, and I worked in Fort Worth ISD at that time. So we had been in the Mansfield-Fort Worth area for 14 years. We'd go to church at Concord, which is right here in Dallas. So we would drive through Duncanville almost every Sunday. So when you look at our community in this area, a lot of them live in this Duncanville, DeSoto area. So when you look at our family community, which was our largest community when we were here, we do have so many friends that we were able to reconnect with. So more so than feeling like the new guy, just like when I went to Shreveport, which was actually home, this is like coming home. So we've had a wonderful reconnection with so many of our friends in this area since we've been back.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit too, just about the demographics of the area. It's a majority minority community. So talk to me about the importance of providing certain resources for the students, just making sure that they have everything that they need to make them as successful as possible. Because we see sometimes in other districts where maybe there is more money, or maybe, and a lot of times in our minority communities, students are dealing with a lot more than just, school.
Right.
They have outside factors that also play a role.
Right. I think interestingly enough, when I speak to every day that I lead Duncanville, I understand why this is my assignment. If you look at what I dealt with when I went to Shreveport, which was a much larger, more urban, more diverse system, the work that I spent most of my time with was around children who look like the Duncanville community. In that respect, you had a section of the inner city of the school, which was all minority students, that was truly struggling, and that's where I spent my time. What I find as I come into Duncanville is that it's really a small cut of that community, and the work that we need to do as we address some of the needs that may be associated with our schools, these are some of the same needs that I've been trained to address. And I just feel very prepared as questions come around about how do we implement curriculum, as we talk about intervention, as we talk about professional development. I know that the last 10 years have prepared me to be very successful in Duncanville.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because we see a big emphasis on social emotional learning, and especially coming out of the pandemic, there were a lot of struggles that, and even now, students are still getting back into the groove, on track, and even with parents.
Right.
So how do you face or deal with some of the challenges that may happen in the classroom? We've seen other districts talk about, discipline, but not just within the classroom, but then also it coming from home too. So how do you face challenges like that?
Well, one thing I've done since I've come into Duncanville is really reorganize the way our academic team functions. One thing that we've done is we've put our student service chief on our academic team as well, because he's providing those services through his division around things like restorative practices, like social emotional learning. And I think it's very important that you know that a child cannot learn at their highest level until their needs are addressed. I mean, Maslow taught us that a long time ago. So until you deal with some of those childhood traumas, some of the things that students bring into the room, and that we call in their backpack, those things that until you unpack some of those things, the students won't be successful. So really excited that our student services team sits at the table with our chief academic officer as well as our chief school leadership officer as we make decisions around what's best for children. Very, very important that student support service department be just as engaged in implementing strategies and during things like curriculum walks, as well as fidelity walks around things that we're implementing in the school. So I think we're going to make a major difference in how we've just rearranged the academic team and put student services on that team.
Yeah. Are there any plans of getting parents engaged?
Absolutely. We do know, and research speaks directly to students functioning at the highest level when their parents are engaged. I do believe, though, that not to be an excuse for us to use as a school system, because it's our job to bring what's best out of the students, but we will look for every opportunity to engage parents. Very thankful to have an active PTSA in our school district and look to engage them, but also just look for principals to look for that time, and because not everyone wants to be a part of an organization, but looking for that opportunity to engage and involve parents in just the simple thing of doing what's best for their child or supporting their child in their academic space.
Now, a few months ago, we met with just different principals and teachers across different districts, really. And one of the ththings that they brought up and talked about was certain crucial grades that are a big focus. So is there a certain grades for Duncanville?
Yes,
okay.
yes. So if you look at third grade, literacy at third grade is a great predictor of student success throughout the trajectory of their school year. We're looking to formalize our literacy program so that we are even looking at students being literate by second grade. Another big keystone is ninth grade, and that ninth grade algebra performance is also a critical indicator of students' performance. So how we look at, address, make sure we have the right teachers in those programs to create successful opportunities are areas that we're looking at. I've met with all of our teachers, and I met with all of our teachers too, but last week I met with all of our principals, and the conversation was around making sure that we have the right people in the right seats. And again, one thing I think we can capitalize on, and Duncanville is certainly capitalizing on, is optimizing performance by making sure that the best teachers are in front of students where they can have the biggest impact.
And speaking on teachers, and we've seen nationwide, there's been a shortage of teachers. The need for teachers is great.
Right.
Where does Duncanville fall?
So we're struggling too, and you know what I tell you is that all school systems are struggling, but what I tell you is that that has been the situation for the last 10 years. That is no longer an excuse. That is no longer something that we have to believe is going to go away. That's something that we have now got to utilize to reinvent how we prepare adults to service our children. That's where we have to look at creative ways such as distance learning opportunities. That's where we have to look at creative ways like training up apprentice teachers. That is where we have to look at different alternative certification programs so we can make sure we have people first in front of our children, but even more importantly than that, that we provide them the supports to be successful. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to see just this huge rush back to education. So in that respect, we've got to be creative with how we solve that problem for children.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, are there any particular programs or initiatives that you are particularly excited about for this year?
Wow. As we go into this year, our work is being defined around lead with impact. And when you think about the word impact, it means to make a significant contribution into a situation or a person. What I've charged our staff with this year is finding your place of impact and specifically identifying that impact. And when I describe this impact, this is something that people will talk about 10, 20 years from now. If you're talking about with a student, how many of you will be remembered by that student and they'll tell their story about their experience with you 10 or 20 years from now? If you're talking about a situation, how many of you will make such an impact that people will still remember that in the future? And that's what I've charged every bus driver, I've charged every cafeteria worker, I've charged every teacher, principal, and alike, even our chief staff. What will be your level of impact? And I truly believe if we all own that opportunity and we all support each other, we're going to create an amazing opportunity for our children as they come back to school next week. I'm very optimistic, and I tell you that this work is not for someone that does not have optimism. I think that the world is going to throw so many hurdles at our school system, but that's nothing that's new. The accountability system is going to change, but that's nothing that's new. I think we have to remember that the children that we serve, for so many of them, probably even more than half of them, we are their best hope. We are their opportunity to live a better life. We're their opportunity to achieve their wildest dreams. And we have to remain optimistic, and we have to remain committed to doing whatever is necessary for students to achieve whatever they can dream. You know, Duncanville will always be a part of the conversation as to how we can influence or make sure that our legislators know the wonderful work that we're doing. However, I do believe at some point we have to grab the situation that we're in and make the absolute best of it for children. I do believe that we're in a political season where a lot of the decisions are made around several different things, and I don't even know what all of those are, versus exhausting too much time, effort into things that I cannot change. Let me use my time wisely and impact and change the things that I can. We will be a part of the conversation, but it won't be at the point to where we're losing time from building on wonderful opportunities with kids.
You know, how do you keep that optimism going with all of, you know, the different hurdles that are being put out when it comes to education?
You know, as weird as it sounds, when I was 5, my dad told me I was built for this, and I do believe that situations, and I was fortunate. I had 2 great parents who truly instilled in me that I was different, that I could dream, and I would accomplish those things that I dreamed. And my dad would always just say I was built for this, and I just remind myself on that worst day, my dad told me I was built for this. And again, there are children out there who I want to have the advantages that I had. I had educated parents. Because of that, they knew how to navigate the system. Because of that, they could navigate and get me to those places where I needed to be, and they took advantage of that. I want to make sure that I'm that advocate for a child. I want to make sure that we create those intervention situations for children. I want to make sure that children feel as prepared as I did when I left high school and got to choose where I went and got to achieve those things on my timeline that I wanted to do. I want to create that opportunity for as many children as I possibly can, and I truly see education as a gateway to do that. I want every child to feel, and I want them to leave Duncanville and say that it was different. I want them to say that I was a champion, not only on the football field, not only on the basketball field, but that Duncanville created champion academic opportunities for me. And that when and there's so many people that come back, like Lady Jade was with us this morning. She's a Duncanville graduate. We have vendors to do things from our pictures to our food. So many vendors come in and do the accounting, do things that they're Duncanville graduates. I want that same level of pride and excitement to continue to exude through all of our children as they go through our system.